Hey all, happy Friday again. Cinephile Mike is here, and it is day 46 of my series of video commentary that reflect the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. Yes, it is Oscar Rewind. I'm digging deep into those IMDb profiles here, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite, or maybe revisit something you haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the recent Oscar connection, award history for the film, box office information, and the critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. Before we jump in, do me a favor, click that subscribe button because you definitely want to be a part of all the cinematic goodness coming your way. So, today we are halfway through my series on designers and their teams. In this batch of double Oscar Rewind, I've been looking at the teams that have filled our senses with sound and costumes and sets and hair and makeup. Yes, I know I haven't gotten to some of them yet, but like I said, we're halfway. Today, and some people may say, hey, wait, huh? But yes. I am looking at Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema's Sex and the City, a 2. Not the first film, but the sequel. Sex and the City 2 was written and directed by Michael Patrick King, the man who heralded the original TV show, the recently canceled, it just ended, and Just Like That, which officially ended last week with its third and final season, and wrote and directed the first film, all based on the original source material by Candace Bushnell. Released in the summer of 2010, the film was financially successful, making $95,347,692 domestically, with an additional $195,397,363 internationally, for a worldwide total of $290,745,055. Not bad against a $100 million budget, though I don't know the information on the marketing, but this was nowhere near its predecessor, which took in over $400 million worldwide against only a $65 million budget. To that end, and this film may have the lowest ratings, I think, that I've discussed on Rewind this season thus far, Sex and the City 2 currently sits with a 16, yes, you heard that right, 16% critical rating from 217 reviews, and a higher but spilled popcorn bucket, a popcorn meter of 43% from over 250,000 audience reviews. Award season-wise, and yes, there was a bit of one, although again, rewind first this season, several awards outlets, while there were a couple of positives, it was heralded a failure with a lot of organizations nominating it for Worst Film, Most Unneeded Film, and 7 of the 18 nods and wins happened at the Razzie Awards. The film was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Director for King, Worst Supporting Actress for Liza Minnelli. Yes, Liza. If you haven't seen this one, I'm not going to talk about her in the summary. She just has a brief cameo as herself in The Wedding. I think she was nominated because they said, why did you do this? And the other 3 were wins. One for Sarah Jessica Parker for Worst Actress. The whole cast was the recipient of the Worst Screen Couple or Worst Screen Ensemble, and it won the prize for Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. I won't discuss any more of the awards. You know what? Wait a second. There were some positivity. Mainly it was for the music, and it was nominated at the People's Choice Awards for Favorite Comedy Movie of the Year. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why is it here? Well, for those who have seen it, let's think about 3 things. 1, that gorgeous wedding at the beginning. 2, the amazing hotel that our foursomes stay at. And 3, the restaurant where Carrie has her date. That should hint at where we are. Lee Sandales, in an almost 30-year-long career, won his first Oscar this year after previous nominations for Warhorse and 1917. He won this year alongside Nathan Crowley for production design for Wicked. Lee served as the set decorator, a job he has had for over a dozen films after spending the first dozen or so years on various art department teams. Yes, I could have done one of the other Oscar-nominated films, but this one is going to be a little more fun to talk about, especially if you are not a fan of this film. Sometimes, look, on Rewind, we don't always look at the best. Sometimes we have to look at the not-so-best, or the worst. Look, I always do a Razzies week during award season, so come on. Plus, these settings of this film live rent-free in my mind for a reason. I'll never probably be able to afford to go to any of these places, but I can dream. So let's get into the film. I'm going to assume most of you that are watching this know the story of our quartet. I'm not going to sum up 6 seasons of television, or the movie. So if you don't know any of this, turn me off now. Go watch it all. Watch this film and then come back to me. Or at least go watch this one, then come back to me. So here we go. When the film starts, this one, Carrie, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, and Mr. Big, played by Chris Noth, are happily married, or so we are led to believe. But after they are shaken a bit, realizing that it will just be them, just those two, they've decided not to have kids and be alone. Carrie believes they have settled a little bit too much into a rut, and this is not good for her. Then we have fan favorite Samantha, played by Kim Cattrall, who has returned to New York after being miserable in California to revive her successful PR career, and she is still happily single, looking for her next encounter, although she is struggling to keep up her sex drive with the onset of menopause. Then you have Miranda, played by Cynthia Nixon, while happy with her husband Steve, played by David Eigenberg, her son Brady, played by Joseph Pupo, and their live-in nanny Magda, played by the adorable and in this film underused Lynn Cohen, is frustrated at work, feeling demoralized by the toxic masculinity of her law firm, and decides to quit her job and figure out her next steps. And then there's Charlotte, played by Kristen Davis, who is trying to settle into the life that she always wanted with her loving husband Harry, played by Evan Handler, and raising her girls, adopted daughter Lily, who's played by the twins Alexandra and Parker Fong, and infant Rose, played by 4 different infants. But she is very frustrated. Rose is in the terrible twos, Lily is feeling neglected and wants attention, and even with the help of her nanny Erin, played by Alice Eve, she feels anxious and doesn't know how to handle the pressures of raising 2 young girls or the pressures of having such a young nanny after one of our quartet makes some comments that make her question her relationship. Now, after Samantha attends the opening of a film starring her ex, Smith, played by Jason Lewis, she's given the opportunity to do major press for a hotel in Abu Dhabi. She agrees on the condition that she can bring her 3 best gal pals, because as she says, she is tired of this bullshit economy and needs some glamour. So our 4 run away from their troubles to Abu Dhabi for an all-expense-paid trip to this stunning resort. While there, Samantha will strike up a relationship with a Danish architect named Richard Spurt, a pun in its translation, played by Max Ryan. Miranda and Charlotte will come to terms with their life frustrations and seek a release. And while shopping in the local souk, Carrie will be reunited with former love Aiden, played by John Corbett. How will this trip to the Middle East impact our 4 ladies? Well, tune in, though I'm betting you can guess how it will go. All right. First off, while I admit to sometimes, I have guiltily watched this film a couple of times over the last, 15 years? But mainly it's because of the design elements. I'm a trained set designer. I went to college for it, and I'm always looking at sets when I watch films. I'm always fascinated by the background. So let me get the bad stuff out of the way when I talk about this film. Plot-wise, this film is awful. I enjoyed the show, but even here, I found all 4 women and their issues a little too bizarre. In fact, in many ways, if they could have just verbalized the situations they were having instead of running away on a trip, this trip wouldn't have been necessary. However, this film packed our quartet together because a big controversy and criticism from the first film was that it divided the 4 of them. They weren't always together. There were fights and living across the country. So I applaud the effort that they, tried to bring them back together. But again, this plot is so contrived. And all of the performances also seemed a little phoned in with this one. It didn't seem like the ladies had the energy that they did for the show or even the first film. And even the problems I had with the first film were not as many as I had here, and also so many other people that watched it. Now, let me get into the design elements, because that's really the focus here. Say what you will about the plot. Here on Rewind, we look at the whole package. First, I want to say, look, Patricia Field is an icon. Her costume work is iconic. Iconic. Okay, repetitive. What else can you say about her, though? Look, whether she's on TV with the projects like Sex and the City, Ugly Betty, or her Oscar-nominated turn in The Devil Wears Prada. Kind of bummed that she's not doing the sequel, but they're scheduling conflicts. And all of the characters always look their best. Every single one of them. And when they get to Abu Dhabi, specifically our foursome, she really did a nice job blending the New York chic that she's known for with appropriate Middle Eastern couture. And then when we talk about the sets, why we're here. Lee Sandales, collaborating on this film with Lydia Marks, truly bring production designer Jeremy Conway's vision to life. From the lush Connecticut wedding at the start of the film to that gorgeous hotel that is a feast for the eyes. And fun fact, that hotel, while shot on location and dressed up for the film, is actually in Morocco, not Abu Dhabi, because Abu Dhabi wouldn't approve the filming due to some local restrictions and some of the script content. Look, this is a film you watch for the design. It's one you throw on while you're cleaning or working around the house and you just want to stop and take in some visuals and have a dream of what you would want your vacation to be. That's what it's good for. Ambient noise. This film, look, it's 2 stars. 5 stars for the design elements, but 2 for the film in quality. It's not so awful as for me to go 1 star, but it's not even a mediocre 3-star film. It's not even a good 3-star film. It's just 2. Look, if you would like to watch it or rewatch it, clearly, watch it for these design elements. Especially if you have an appreciation for design, check some of this out. The film is streaming on HBO Max. So there you have it. As always, if you like what you heard here, please do me a favor. Click the subscribe button, like and share the video. Spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Find lots of great additional content on my website, cinephilemike.com. See everyone next week as I start to wrap up my look at designers and their teams. But until then, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.